the Jewish people into the promised land, the land of Israel. Well, folks, it's been 37 days, and now the time is up for Moses. It's his last day. So just to explain, Moses was born his birthday was the 7th day of Adar, the 7th day of the month of Adar, and he passed away on the 7th day of Adar 120 years later. He passed away on his 120th birthday, which is why, by the way, one of the reasons why when we wish people long life or a good life or blessings, we actually wish them ad mea ve'esrim. We wish them until 120. Like Moses, it also says regarding tzaddikim, righteous people, it says this in Kabbalah, that righteous people pass away on their birthday. And it doesn't mean that if somebody didn't, then they're not righteous, but there's a special significance to passing away on one's birthday because it shows that their years were complete. Like full years, maxed out, like full and complete and whole. So there's a spiritual significance. But let's jump in. So this again is Moses speaking to the people on the last day of his life, 7th day of Adar in the year 2488 from creation. Okay, Deuteronomy 29 verse 9. You are all standing this day before the Lord your God. Before the Lord your God. I would put some punctuation there if it was me. And who are all of you? The leaders of your tribes, your elders and your officers, every man of Israel, your young children, your women, and your converts who is within your camp. I would put more punctuation there. Both your woodcutters and your water drawers. So here Moses enumerates, basically saying all of us, all of the Jewish people are gathered here as one, standing together. And why are we all gathered here today? Moses says. What's the objective? Why did I call this meeting, essentially? That you may enter the covenant of the Lord your God and his oath, which the Lord your God is making with you this day. In other words, there's going to be another commitment, another covenant, another pledge today, on this day, that from God to the Jewish people, in order to establish you this day as his people, and that he will be your God. So God will basically reaffirm that you are his people, and you will reaffirm that he will be your God, as he spoke to you at Sinai, and as he swore to your forefathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Let's continue. But not only, we're going to take a much deeper dive. There's so much depth over here, but look, I want to get the narrative going, and then we'll go back. But not only with you, says Moses, am I making this covenant and this oath, but with those standing here with us today before the Lord our God, and also with those who are not here with us this day. In other words, the covenant is not only for the people standing, Moses says, in front of me, but it's also for those who are not here today. Who do you think those are? Who do you think that includes?
Ancestors?
The unborn.
Yeah, that includes us. You could say it also includes the past, but most commentators are explaining it includes the future. In other words, us. Right? You and I didn't live in the times of Moses, but nonetheless, that covenant is happening also with us. Moses says, for you know how we dwelled in the land of Egypt, and how we passed among the nations through which you passed. Wait, hold on. Hold on, 1 second. Okay, let's continue. For you know how we dwelled in the land of Egypt, and how we passed among the nations through which you passed. And you saw their abominations, and their repugnant idols of wood and stone, silver and gold, which were with them. On the journey to Israel, we passed through other nations that served idols. Perhaps there is among you a man, woman, family, or tribe whose heart strays this day from the Lord our God to go and worship the deities of those nations. Perhaps there is among you a root that produces hemlock and wormwood. Very poetic. A root that produces hemlock and wormwood. What's hemlock? I know Sherlock. Hemlock. All right, something else. And it will be when such a person who has nefarious intent hears the words of this oath, that he will bless himself in his heart. By the way, that expression, bless your heart, that's where this comes from. He will bless himself in his heart, saying, I will have peace even if I follow my heart's desires. In other words, he'll say, yeah, sure, yeah, absolutely, 100% on board. Yeah, right. Yeah, you know that way to do it. It's like, on the surface, this person's like, yes, absolutely, totally committed. But inside is like, nah, I'm going to do my own thing. And I'll be fine. No one's going to know. It's going to be good. I will have peace even if I follow my heart's desires. In order to add the punishment for the unintentional sins of this man to that of his intentional sins. So the Lord will not be willing to forgive him. Rather than the Lord's, okay, this gets a little fire and brimstone. The Lord's fury and zeal will fume against that man, and the entire curse written in this book will rest upon him. Remember the curses from last week? The 98. And the Lord will obliterate his name from beneath the heavens. And the Lord will separate him for evil out of all the tribes of Israel according to the curses of the covenant written in this Torah scroll. And a later generation, your descendants, who will rise after you, along with the foreigner who comes from a distant land, will say upon seeing the plagues of that land and the diseases with which the Lord struck it, sulfur and salt have burned up its entire land. It cannot be sown, nor can grow anything. Not even any grass will sprout upon it. It is like the overturning of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim, which the Lord overturned in his fury and in his rage. And the nations will say, why did the Lord do so to this land? What is the reason for this great rage of fury? Then they will say, it is because they, the Jewish people, abandoned the covenant of the Lord God of their fathers, the covenant which he made with them when he took them out of the land of Egypt. For they went and served other deities, prostrating themselves to them, deities which they had not known and which he had not apportioned to them. And the Lord's fury raged against the land, that land bringing upon it the entire curse written in this book. And the Lord uprooted them from their land with fury, anger, and great wrath, and he cast them to another land, as it is this day. Basically, Moses is saying, if this is what's going to happen, if this is what you're going to do, if this is what you are intending to do, then this is going to be the story that they read about you in the history books. Are you with me on how Moses is speaking to them before any of this? No one's been exiled. None of this has happened. He's saying, we're making a covenant, if in the back of your mind you're thinking, sure, I'm going to nod and smile, and then we'll do whatever we want and it's going to be fine, you should know it's not going to be fine. It's not going to be good for you in this land. There's going to be all the curses, God forbid, that's going to happen, that were written upon in the book. Generations later will wonder what happened, like what went wrong. And then they'll realize what went wrong is you abandoned the path that you were meant to walk. The hidden things, Moses says, in conclusion, belong to the Lord our God. But the revealed things apply to us and to our children forever, that we must fulfill all the words of this Torah. In other words, the hidden things, we all struggle. We all have challenges and we all have questions and doubts. But the bottom line is, on a revealed level, we need to be committed and we need to do what we need to do. All right, that's the first reading. It's actually longer than I realized. When I was preparing it, I didn't go, because it's a double portion. So the actual, like if it was a single portion, it would be like 3 verses. And even the first 2 portions would be like 6 verses total. But because of the double portion, it actually goes a little bit longer. It's more of an extended reading, so we get like a nice full arc of the narrative. Okay, let me just check in. Does the story, does this make sense on a basic level, like what's going on in the narrative? Yes? More or less? Yes? Okay. Let's jump in. Okay, now some commentary. This is going to be primarily based on mystical teachings and Hasidic teachings. Okay, which day is this? You are all standing this day. Which day? On a very simple level, it's referring to this day being the day of Moses' passing, the last day of his life. But the way Kabbalah understands it is, this day is referring to the day of Rosh Hashanah. It's known as Hayom. Hayom is this day, but it's the great day of Rosh Hashanah. This becomes a teaching for us in preparation for the great day of the Jewish New Year. And what's the message for the Jewish New Year? The blessing comes on this day. We are blessed on Rosh Hashanah when we are all standing together. That means that if we wish to ask God for a new year, we must stand next to the other. Again, not necessarily physically, keep your social distance, but it means in spirit, we have to be together, standing in unison, standing united before God. And that is the greatest lead-in, or the greatest impetus, the greatest catalyst for the blessing. So when are we blessed on this day? When are we blessed on Rosh Hashanah? Again, I'm giving you the non-literal understanding of this verse, the more midrashic. It's not midrashic, it's the mystical understanding. This day is Rosh Hashanah, and what elicits the blessing? It's all standing together. And why do we stand together? It's because we know we're standing before God, and God is the ultimate equalizer. Because on our own, we all have our different titles. I do this, and you do that, and I think this, and you think that. But standing in front of God, that's the ultimate equalizer. Because before God, we're all nothing, equally nothing, right? It's like the only question could be, who's the bigger nothing? But we're all nothing before God, right? God's infinite, we're all finite. So in our own little finite boxes, it's like, oh, my finite is bigger than your finite, right? Oh, I have more green paper than you have green paper. Like that's the pettiness of our class systems, if you will. But standing before God, the ultimate equalizer. So again, a few things. I'm going to start from the end. When God is before us, when we're in the presence of God, then we're all together. Then we're all standing united. And we stand strong. And we're blessed. When are we asking for this blessing? On Rosh Hashanah, on Hayom, this day. This day meaning the great day of Rosh Hashanah. And that brings with it the greatest blessing of strength. We say it in the prayers in each Amidah, toward the end of the Amidah, Barchenu Avinu Kulanu Ke'echad. We say that God, our Father, should bless us, Kulanu Ke'echad, all as one. We ask that God bless us together as one, because when we're standing united, we're much stronger than when we stand individually. If we ask God, I need this individually, how strong are our individual merits? Maybe strong, maybe not so strong. But standing together, it's a much greater strength. Plus, as is taught in Kabbalah and Hasidic philosophy, when the children are playing nicely together, the parents are much more likely to give whatever the children want when the kids are getting along. When there's a lot of fighting going on, when there's a lot of drama, less likely to want to give. Just less motivation to, when there's that type of negative vibe, negative energy going around amongst the siblings. We're all siblings. We're all brothers and sisters. Whether it's within the Jewish ranks or within the world at large, we're all connected. We all come from the same place. Literally come from the same place. And all of the petty distinctions are really that. They're petty distinctions. Before God, we're all one. Or we're all finite compared to God's infinitude. So let's embrace in that spirit, and when we embrace, that brings down the greatest blessings. So that's one idea. Next idea is that there are distinctions. There's leaders, there are elders, and then there's woodcutters and water drawers. And that's considered to be, everyday work, so to speak. Blue collar work. As opposed to the leaders of the tribes, that's like, the leaders. Those that are, looked up to as leaders. And the whole point of this is that notwithstanding, again, like I said before, notwithstanding the different roles that people play, there is a unity. There's a few ways to arrive at unity. I mentioned one before. One path is when you stand before God, so that's the ultimate equalizer, right? Because God's so much greater than then even the leaders, not even the leaders, the leaders don't pale in significance to the infinite Creator. But there's another way to arrive at unity without discounting the individuality, because standing before God means that everyone's individuality is lost and everyone is nullified before God. But there's another way to arrive at unity, and that is understanding that we all need each other, right? Even looking at this construct here. So leaders of the tribes, and then woodcutters and water drawers. Okay, I'll ask you a question. The leaders of the tribes, yeah, if they want their tent to be warmed at night, I say tent because they were camping back in the desert. I don't actually know if they were doing wood burning fires in the tent. That seems a little bit flammable to me. Nonetheless, you need wood choppers, right? You need wood choppers for your Labor Day grill. You want to barbecue? Even the leaders of the tribes, yeah, you want to barbecue? You need wood cutters. You want to drink? You need water drawers. It's the same thing today. It's like we forget that we're an ecosystem, we're a society that needs everybody. And so it's like the human body. Kabbalah uses this analogy of the human body. Yeah? So we have all different parts of the body. Are they all needed? Absolutely, they're all needed. Right? So yes, the head has certain functions and the foot has other functions. But you know what? The head can't get where it wants to go without the foot. So the head could say from today to tomorrow, I'm so smart, I'm so sophisticated, I have all of these wonderful abilities, and you're just a foot. All right. Wonderful. But the bottom line is, the foot will go places that the head could never go. And the foot can take the head places where the head needs to go. So every part is needed. Every part is needed. So that's a second way to arrive at a unity amongst people. The first way is standing before God, and in that space of surrender, that's the ultimate equalizer. But that means letting go of your individuality in the face of something greater, dissolving in the great supernal infinity. The second method of unity, taught in Kabbalah and Hasidic philosophy, is you hold on to your individuality, but you appreciate the other's individuality as equally as necessary as yours. You have your talents, they have their talents. There's no one greater than the other. We're all necessary, we're all needed in our individual pieces. It's kind of like a puzzle. If you want to complete the puzzle, you want to have that full picture, you need every puzzle with its specific, jigsaw cut. Every single piece has its place, has its role, has its shape, has its size. There's no one greater than the other. Each one is necessary with its individuality. Okay, does that make sense? Those two ideas? Okay, so one surrender and one appreciation of individualism. Then we get to this point. The covenant is not only being made with those that were there then, but also with those who are not here. I mentioned before, it refers to us as well. So, a person might say, look, if God spoke to me and said, hey, do this, that, or the other, I would do it. But you know what? God didn't. So the answer is, well, actually, it did happen. It happened without you being there. Sometimes you can like agree to something by proxy. You have a representative that signs something on your behalf. Well, that's what happened. But the covenant is basically with us. You're stuck. That's it. Enjoy it. Mazel tov. You're not getting out of it anyway. So there it is. Basically, Moses is saying, like it or not, this is what's happening. This is. Yeah. Donna, go ahead.
So what about when the Mashiach comes? Is it still the same covenant?
Yeah, for sure. Same Torah, but the difference is it'll be super. Well, I was gonna say supernatural. I don't mean supernatural like supernatural. I mean it'll be supernatural. It'll be organic, as organic as it is, to eat, sleep, drink, and whatever. As natural as it is to take care of our physical needs today, it'll be as natural to take care of our spiritual needs when Mashiach comes. It'll be totally organic. But hold on, I was just thinking something. Oh, so it says, it's interesting. It says that when it comes to chazer, you know what chazer is? Pig. So we know that pig is not kosher. It says one difference when Mashiach comes is pig will be kosher. So what? Like, how's that going to happen? Like, what does that even mean? Like, it sounds like when pigs fly. No, when pigs become kosher, it's Mashiach. But what does that mean? That's why in the Hebrew it's called chazir. Chazir is pig. Chazir means, like, choser means to return. It's going to come back to a state of kosher. You want to say hi? Why not? Just come and jump up and say hi. Say hi. You're not usually here because you're back in school. Say hi. There you go. All right. So what's going to happen? It's not that magically Torah is going to go away, right? Oh, we're dropping the rules. No, it's that signs of the kosher animal, as we know from our studies, are split hooves and chewing cud, and the pig has only split hooves and doesn't chew its cud. When Mashiach comes, the biology of the pig will change and it will start chewing its cud. Listen, I'm already starting to give some bubble gum. Get started. I know that's not chewing cud. I'm just saying. Whatever. Anyway, the point is that the biology of the chazir is going to change, and that's why it's going to revert to kosher. But no, the covenant, the Torah mitzvot remains. Okay. Now, a few more highlights here. So basically, Moses says he's trying to appeal to their logic also. It's like, you remember the land of Egypt, right? How depraved they were. They served idols. They were not monotheistic, they were polytheistic. And you remember what that was like, right? The depravity. And you remember that we just passed among other nations and saw their idols of wood and stone, silver and gold, right? Meaningless, worthless things that somebody made in a factory, and that's their God. It doesn't make any sense. The whole thing doesn't make sense. So he's appealing to their logic to remain committed to the covenant of serving Hashem. And then I don't know that there's much more to add to this. Basically, Moses is saying that we shouldn't think, really this line over here, I will have peace even if I follow my heart's desires, is Moses saying, don't try to have it both ways, right? Sit on both sides of the fence. Like, okay, I'll do a little of this, maybe, to show people or pretend like this, but really, I'm going to do my own thing. But I don't believe nothing's going to go wrong. I'll be okay. I'll be fine. I'm going to do my own thing, in the privacy of my own home. I'll be fine. Moses says, look, you think it's in the privacy of your home, of your own home or your own heart, but at the end of the day, we believe in a God. Either we believe in, or we don't. But the Jewish God that we believe in is a God who knows all and tells all. No, but a God who knows everything. It's not like you're pulling a fast one over God. And ultimately, he's saying that's going to catch up with us if we are letting go of that connection. And a little bit of fire and brimstone there in Moses' final sermon. It's going to come down hard, and people historically are going to say, "Wow, what in the world caused that?" And this is what's going to happen. Basically, once again, encouraging them not to let go of their Judaism, not to let go of their connection, not to let go of God, not to let go of Torah and mitzvot, to remain committed and connected, even when things get a little bit comfortable. So there's two times that people could drop their commitments: when it gets uncomfortable or when it gets very comfortable. Right? When it gets uncomfortable, it gets challenging, people might drop their commitments. Say, you know what, it's challenging, I'm out. But also when things get very comfortable, you can also drop commitments, because you know what, I don't need to be committed because everything's going well. There's a challenge of not having and the challenge of having. Challenge of poverty and the challenge of prosperity. The Torah tells us time and again that the challenge of prosperity is actually a greater spiritual challenge. Because oftentimes when things are challenging, although that could cause a lack of faith, but it also could evoke, a seeking and a searching. Conversely, the challenge of the blessing of prosperity oftentimes can bring out a complacency and a false sense of security, saying, you know what, who needs God? Everything's good. Right, everything's good. Yeah, if I needed God, I would pray or something, or I would, be committed. But life is good. Everything's fine. And that's the greatest challenge. Greatest challenge is when things are going well to remain committed. So that's what Moses is saying. You're going to go into the land. It's going to be amazing. You're going to say, look, Shalom Yeli. It's going to be perfect. It's going to be peaceful, tranquil. I can do what I want and still, have my cake and eat it too. All this stuff. But ultimately, it's not going to be good. Unfortunately, the reality is, if we're being honest, the reality is that historically that's what happened. The Jewish people strayed from God. They worshipped idols. They had the first temple and it was destroyed. And they were exiled. Second temple, same story. We've been in exile ever since. So, Moses was also citing a little bit of prophecy there, saying, this is likely going to happen, where we're not going to remain, committed all the way through, although he's certainly encouraging us to do so. Anyway, I don't want to end in a negative note. Positive note is, right, on a positive note, right, our connection is in our hands. Right, at any point in time, we can plug in some Torah, mitzvot. This is my laptop plug. Anytime we can plug right in and be connected, especially as we stand before Rosh Hashanah. I want to circle back to the beginning. The first deeper insight that I share with you, that as we prepare for Rosh Hashanah, and we prepare to ask God for a new year that's sweet, happy, and healthy, this past year, very interesting. We don't necessarily want to ask for the same type of year as last year. We want to ask for a year that is only filled with obvious blessings, no health challenges, no anything, only prosperity and happiness and sweet, sweet, sweet. And as we prepare ourselves for that and for that ask, let's remember the first idea, and that is our strength lies in our togetherness, in our unity, both amongst our own ranks and amongst the larger ranks. So let's commit now. We have a few weeks left. Let's think about what we can do in our own lives to strengthen our bond with others, to stand together as one. The leaders, the wood choppers, the water carriers, the elders, everyone together as one. And in that way, we merit the greatest blessings, the blessings of happy and healthy, sweet New Year. So I want to wish you all Shana Tova U'Metuka, happy and healthy, sweet New Year. And on that note of Rosh Hashanah, let's sound the shofar. Shall we? All right, give me a second. Let me get that going. You know the joke about the two guys who were schmoozing late into the night? And the guy turns to his friend. He was in his apartment. He says, "What time is it?" He says, "I don't know. I don't have a clock in my house." He's like, "Then how do you tell the time?" It's in New York. It's just simple. He opens up his window from his building, puts out like a tekiah gadola, like a really loud blast. A second later, the neighbor's like, "Are you crazy?" All right. That's New York life. That's city living. That's how it works. All right, you got but nothing unusual about that in New York. Let's rock and roll. There you go. Now it doesn't work. Nah, it's not that long. No, if you have, it depends on the shofar, because the smaller it is, so the more force, the more pressure you have to use, you have like a big shofar, you could actually, it works with only even a little bit of breath, and those you can go really long on, because you fill up the tank and you go nice and slow out. You can go for like a minute on that, on those certain ones, like the kudu ones that like have like 3 or 4 turns. You can go long on those. All right.
How are you going to teach us in that one session? I got the kit, the chauffeur kit. How are you going to teach us in one session to do that?
Listen, it's it's gonna happen.
Okay.
It's gonna happen. What else did I want to tell you? I don't remember now. I thought there was something else that I wanted to tell you. Okay, I can't think of it. Anyway, have a wonderful day. Enjoy your Labor Day. Enjoy the long weekend. I guess it's all part of the long weekend. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. Same bad time, same bad channel. Bye, everyone. See you guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Be well, everybody.